What's going on, team? Welcome to an episode of the Keep Going Podcast, Season 2. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Before the show starts, make sure to follow us on our socials, okay? Twitter, the Keep Going Pod, Insta, the KG Podcast, and YouTube at the KG Pod. Just a reminder that we are not psychiatrists and not psychologists, just a couple ex-athletes trying to make a difference and end the stigma of mental health. Thank you guys for listening, and let's get to the show.
That keep going moment.
My keep going moment.
That's my keep going moment.
Let's keep going. Welcome, team, to episode 48 of the Keep Going Podcast. Your co-host, Luke Wheat, here, coming from K-Brew in Knoxville, Tennessee, in the car right now. And then we got Pat O'Malley also in the car. Pat, where are you coming out of, brother?
Yeah, man, I'm on Kirchhoff Road in Algonquin outside of Elk Grove Village, the exceptional community. Just getting back from a nice trip over in Stony Brook, New York, and feeling refreshed, ready to get on here. And it's been about 40 plus episodes since me and Luke have jumped on together without a guest or co-host. So always good to see how far we've come today. So I'm definitely excited. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. I was thinking about it. It's OG episode 1, kind of rolling back almost a year from whenever we started. So that's big. We both had HOCO this weekend. I had it at Maryville College. We had a couple games yesterday. Senior nights for the men's and women's team at Maryville College, and just really wanted to shout out our seniors at Maryville College, man. The dedication it takes to be a part of that program for 4 years, and shout out any other seniors in programs across the country that are listening today. The dedication it takes to commit yourself to an athletic program is no small task. So we really appreciate you guys and all the hard work that y'all put in, and we appreciate it.
No, I couldn't appreciate that more. You know, going out for homecoming as well. It's Stony Brook. It brings you back, right? To like those times of being student athletes and being a senior and being at your last homecoming. And looking back, I don't remember many games, but I definitely remember the people that we met along the way. So Luke, with you included. So shout out to all the seniors, the 5th years, the 6 years with all the COVID stuff and everything that y'all have done. Definitely be proud of your journey, because you might never see a college journey like this one ever again. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. These seniors, like you said, we got a couple 6 years on Maryville squad. So they have had a very unique college experience over the last years, having to go through COVID. And that's where we see a lot of a lot of things from the mental health side stem from. So, you know, they've been impacted, but they fought through it and they've got through it, and we're really proud of them. Pat, man, me and you today, just ripping it. We're missing Jackie today. All love to her. She's with the twin. I'm excited for her to hang out with the family and, you know, get together with them.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think it was awesome. I have to shout out Jackie because I actually saw her last night. Jules as well. They made the trip in to Stony Brook yesterday, which is awesome to see everybody. But, you know, it's kind of cool. And I talked about it earlier in the episode about how far we've come over the last year. You know, we've brought people on that are good for our mental health, not only guests, but of course, Jackie is our co-host as well. And shout out to everybody. Like Rich Jurgen was a huge part of it. Zach Gale, countless people I could shout out right now. But what I want to touch on today is kind of more of a somber note. It's been a wild kind of month. I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and there's a lot of different things going on. Unfortunately, I had someone else in my circle over the past week, unfortunately commit suicide and took that choice to end his life. And I know that's kind of a somber point to start the episode today, but I think it's so important to really touch on this now and get it out there that we can't just be accepting this now. It's so common in our society that girls and guys across the country are making this decision. And I kind of wanted to shine some light on it today. In my experience, obviously as a student athlete, as a coach, and as a person, this is a topic that we touch on all the time, right? Hey, you are enough. Stick around a little bit longer. Keep going. But like, when does this stop as a group? Like, what generation is this finally going to be hey, the suicide has to be a rarity. It can't be a normality. in my brain, like it doesn't really make sense. It just, I just hate even thinking about it, but it's becoming so common. And there's ways that we can kind of combat this. And I think, Luke, as we go on, if we get education out earlier on, like in junior high, before high school, right? Before college,
Yeah.
before a lot of these big time struggles come in, I think that would definitely benefit. I don't know how you feel about that and kind of like to chime in here.
No, 100%. I think it's difficult to make a switch with your perception of reality and your perception of mental health and how to take care of yourself once you get past, 23, 24, 25, right? You've gone through college, you've gone through these really big changes in your life that, let's be honest, not a lot of kids are prepared for. Right, you're 18 years old and you're trying to make a big financial decision, a big educational decision, a big job decision, and you're just a kid, right? So we got to get the resources out there earlier. I know at Maryville College we've got a bunch of different posters and flyers and resources for people to go talk to if they're struggling, but do they know that it's okay to use those things? And I think, Pat, that's where you touched on, getting on it earlier. As a middle school teacher back in the day, I was in middle school for about a year. They are very impressionable in a good way if you are willing to lead them in the right way. At the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level, I've seen kids that, quote unquote popular kids, right? The ones that you think, oh, they're messing around all the time. They don't really care about rules. They're not rule followers, whatever. I've seen those kids make the craziest mental and maturation through their life in 1 year from August to May, just by a couple leaders in their community pouring a little extra time into them, and then those kids leading their group of friends in the right direction. Right. So I think it does start that young. Now, I think it does start that young whenever we have all the access to information we have now, right? You're not just a kid going out after school playing baseball with your buddies anymore, or shooting hoops with your buddies after school, or passing around a soccer ball after school. You're a kid that has access to, you know, unlimited information online. And so things are getting exposed to children a little bit earlier. Things are, again, kind of like that maturation point that I was touching on. They may not be mature enough to handle. So it's really up to us as leaders in the community, leaders in the schools, leaders on athletic groups, to kind of take that charge and really let them know, hey, from an early age, it's all right to feel down, but you got to do something to get help. You got to do something to make it better. You got to do something to make an improvement.
Yeah, Luke, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I don't think I've ever been like public about this on an episode, which I'm going to go into it. At 24 years old, like I remember looking in the mirror a couple of times and being like, man, I think I'd be better off if I wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back at that now and who I am now at 28, that's scary stuff. That's real stuff, right? Like those thoughts are tough, right? Those are dark days. You have some dark weeks, you have some things going on that sometimes it might be nothing. You just feel that way. The point I'm getting across now is we need to not only talk about the tools and get them out there, but we have to do something about it, right?
Yeah.
We have to go seek professional help. That stigma needs to end. We need to rely on friends, family members, teammates, people to be there as well. And lastly, the most important thing, we have to know that this world is better off with us in it. Because
Absolutely.
no matter who you are a ripple effect. We just had this conversation last night. Me and Jackie were talking about it with some other people. You are a ripple effect to millions of lives.
Absolutely.
In a positive manner. That choice is yours. So if you're sitting there today, and I hope to goodness you're not in this position, but you're listening to this podcast today and you're looking for something, your ripple makes a difference. Your ripple makes change. Your ripple can change the world. no matter how big, how small. And being there from an outside perspective, it looked like I had a lot of stuff going on for me, like a lot of good things. I get those dark days. I know how dark it can be. You're really challenging your strength. Get ahead of this. And if you ever feel behind it, understand that you're here and you are enough to be here and do all this great stuff and have a lifetime that makes an impact. I just want to chime on that. Your ripple is so important.
Absolutely. And if you're a friend of somebody you think that may be struggling with that, it's not easy to help somebody through that. And at the end of the day, it may have to be their decision to get help or not. But you have to try and do everything you can to help them get the resources they need. It's worth it, man. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. So if you're a friend, if you're a leader in the community, if you're the head of a team, if you are leading a group at school, if you're a high school kid right now listening to this, and you have a club at school that you're the leader of, take an extra second to talk to that kid that doesn't open up a lot, that doesn't let their feelings be known a lot. Because I think for people like Pat and I, you know, whether we feel good or not, we're always going to look pretty good on the outside, right? We're always going to be talking to other people. We're always going to be trying to make, just a joke or something to other people. We're always going to be connecting with other people because that's who we are. That's not the case for everybody, right? So if you see that person that you notice not doing too great, kind of written all over their face, say something. Try and get to them early, man. It's worth that 5 minutes out of your day to really try and make an impact.
Yeah. 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 No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think I have two things on that, and we'll kind of roll on here. The first thing I'd say, and Jay Glazer says it all the time, like shout out to his Unbreakable podcast. It was kind of one of the reasons why we went with the keep going mantra and like getting through it and what we ask our guests all the time. Jay Glazer says it's something that gets him out of the gray, gets him out of those dark days, is when he can go be a light for somebody else. That's the first part. The second part, you never understand. You'll never get what someone's going through. And like Luke just said, if you can do one thing that maybe takes 30 seconds and that person's hanging by a thread that day, you never know. You never know. So I think the one thing is understand you can feel better by shining your light on other people. And two, you never know what someone's going through. They can be the highest of the high, man. I guarantee if I would have talked to people at 24 and told them what I just told you guys, they would have been like, Pat, that makes no sense. You showed no signs. That's the scariest part. That these people are fighting these battles in silence. Myself included at that time. I'm not anymore, obviously. But at that time, you wouldn't have known. My closest buddies did not know. They had no idea. So be that light to somebody else. You never know how that light's going to shine in you after. And you never know what someone's going through. And what I want to touch on next and why myself and Luke decided to have no guest on today is other tools that we've used personally. I think Luke is a testament over the last year of how you can flip your life around and do things differently and have more that positive ripple effect and make changes. So Luke, talk about your last year, man, and what you've done to not only impact yourself and be a better you, but impact others as well.
Well, I mean, the first thing I want to say is thank you, Pat, for that vulnerability, man. It's not an easy thing to put that out there because sometimes people will look at you different, and I think that's kind of part of the reason we do this every day, is to try and end that stigma and shine a light on mental health. And thank you for being at the forefront of that and really sharing that with the guests today or with the listeners today. It means a lot. But also thank you for bringing me down this road. This all started with your idea of how can we impact one person's life, and if you've impacted anybody's life, Pat, it's been mine. and I just can't thank you enough for it. I don't know that I would still have a job today if I didn't start doing this last year with you, because some of the habits that I had previously before doing this, right? Um, drinking a lot, every weekend, weeknights, stuff like that. Um, Still working through some financial things with gambling, different things like that. And it's not easy, but you had made a positive difference in my life for sure. And I know we hear a lot of guest stories all the time, and we don't hear mine and your stories a lot, but you've made an absolutely huge difference in my life. So I appreciate you. Um, for this week, man, and me and Pat, man, we've even been, back and forth at each other a little bit this week because I had so much stress going on in my life. Um, and that it's not an easy thing, right? To do kind of what we do. We do full-time jobs. We got this going on the side, and we're both coaching on the side. We got to take care of ourselves first. And one of the things I didn't do this week was my workouts. And I think that was really taking a toll on me. One thing I did do was kind of my meditation practices, and those helped out a ton. So, one of my advice pieces would be kind of have a tiered system, right? For me right now, the number one thing that makes me feel better is getting in the gym, moving a little bit of weight, trying to get physically better. The next thing that I try and do whenever I don't have that is a mindfulness practice. And it's actually something I do with my students in class whenever I can tell the energy's a little bit off, or I can tell the kids aren't really into it that day. We do a 5-minute mindfulness practice to kind of reset and come back to where we need to be. And so, I talked to Pat and Jackie this week. My most stressful day of the year that happened this week because we got semester comments due. It's whatever. It's a pretty big thing at school. But to try and stay above water, kind of in that to use that kind of term, I wasn't able to get to the gym because of how busy I was, but I was able to do mindfulness practices. And I tell you what, man, I did 2 or 3 on Wednesday, and another on Thursday, and that really, really kept me going. I had a couple of tough classes in a row. Really felt like I didn't bring enough to the table for the kids. Being that leader in the classroom, it was tough. But that was in the morning. I did my mindfulness practice at my free period and during lunch. And then we made a better afternoon out of it for the following 3 classes of the day. And that's all you can do, right? So I say all that to say it's not going to look pretty, right? It's not going to be perfect every week, right? But with people like Jackie and people like Pat, and people like my girlfriend in my life, and I got a buddy at work that's a super good guy, James Michael. Shout out James Michael. With people like that in your life, they're going to keep you straight, and they're going to keep you on the straight and narrow, and keep you getting better every day. So that's kind of what I got, Pat. It's not always going to look pretty, but you got to make a choice to try and get better.
Yeah. Luke, I got a lot to say about this. I appreciate your vulnerability and you talking about only the stuff that looks good on the outside, but the stuff on the inside as well. Luke's obviously been a huge part of my journey through this. This has been something where when I started this podcast with Luke, myself, I was drinking too much. I was working too much. I didn't have relationships the way I do now. There were things that I was doing things the wrong way. And a lot of it was to bury that hurt. So if you're in here today listening to this and you're going, sounds about right. I feel good until Monday and you're kind of wondering why. I'm telling you why. We're giving you those answers right now. Because you're just blocking that out until that stuff is gone. The gambling, the drinking, the women, the whatever. That's true stuff. Having people along the way like Luke, like Jackie, like accountability partners while we started this is huge. But I want to touch on one thing too about what if you don't have anybody? And we've touched on this on other episodes, but you have no excuse at this point in time. If you're someone that doesn't have someone right now, please reach out to us. Like, shoot us a message. I'll call you every day for the next month if you want
Yeah.
me to. Like, if you don't have anybody, reach out to us. We are a direct platform looking to help. No, we're not specialists, but man, have we been through this stuff. And we have this experience from hundreds of people that we've associated with during this brand, during this platform. So I wanted to jump on that. If you don't have anybody right now, we're here. We're your guys. Like, we're your girls, obviously with Jackie too. We're here. The second thing, I had a conversation with Alyssa Costello, Stony Brook softball player, over the weekend.
Shout out Alyssa. Shout out
About
Alyssa.
hell yeah, an accountability partner, is a heck of a ball player, heck of a person. And the conversation was about every second, every minute of her day is a grind. That up is find those self-care pockets, like the meditation, like the
Yeah.
meditation, like the medication, like the workout stuff, the things that work for you by trial and error. That's going to keep you going. A lot of the times it's stuff that goes away from being a student athlete, the 9 to 5. It's things you do for yourself to make you the best you. If you start getting away from that, I don't think that's why we were intended to be here. Honestly, Luke.
No, absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. Tough stuff. Heavy episode. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the easy stuff to talk about. And here's the thing, like, it's not easy to talk about. It's not even easy to make the actual change. Right?
Right.
It's gonna be a bumpy road and it's gonna be difficult. So, don't expect it to just be one day you're bad and then another day you're good. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be highs and lows, but you got to keep going. That's the end all be all of it. That's the end all be all of it.
I agree. I think keep going has been not only our mantra, but it's been who we are and what we represent over the last year. And we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep having guests that come on and inspire not only you guys and girls, but us as well. Every episode, we try to take something from it. The last thing I want to say, and we'll wrap up today, I know it has been a little bit of a deeper episode. We've been going into some stuff that most people don't want to touch on. I spoke at Oshkosh a couple months ago with Rich Jurgen, who came on as our first guest, who was a co-host when Luke was obviously out of the country for a couple of weeks. And I mentioned this kind of analogy about bowling. And the reason I bring it up is, when you go bowling, you have multiple pins and multiple frames. You get 12 pins, you get how many frames, depending on how you do. If you went into every time you bowled and expected to get a strike every single time, it would be unrealistic. The reason I always use this comparison is, if you go into a day with 10 things on your to-do list that you want to slam dunk, and number 3 or 4 goes wrong, please don't punt on the day. Please don't give up because it didn't go 100% perfect strike every time. Go to the next frame. Keep going. And I promise you, as you keep putting these habits in, these routines in, it gets easier. There's more strikes. Are you still going to throw balls in the gutter? Yeah, you probably are every once in a while. We all have tough days, but make sure we're just doing our best to keep going and knock down as many things as we can. That's what I would say.
I think that's all you need to say. I think that's as good as we can say it today.
That's it, man.
I think that's as good as we can say it today.
No, I agree, man. And shout out to everybody that's still rocking with us. Almost 50 episodes later. We love you guys. We want to bring you this content. And above all else, Luke, we want to keep going, bro. I love you. You know that.
Keep going. Love you, brother.
Love you too, bro.